Today we're going to talk about one of the things that you cannot dismiss if you are trying to discuss metabolism and or fix your metabolism. And one of the, I held up this magazine when I first started. It's just a regular health magazine because it's something that is it's addressed in multiple magazines, but I think sometimes there's missed messages, and one of it is strength training. So like for instance, in this one, there's this whole article about how strength training boosts your metabolism, and then it shows you pictures like this. Like, what is that? I don't even know what she's doing. It's like she has like it's 2 kilograms, so what is that, like 5-pound dumbbell or something like that? And the article is like legit, the stuff that it's talking about, and it's an old article. This is from last October. Like I've been like fall cleaning and finding stuff like that. So it's an old article, like totally legit stuff that it's talking about in there, but all the pictures throughout it are showing like pictures that don't go with what the article is talking about and how heavy you would actually have to be lifting to boost your metabolism. And so it gives you the idea that maybe you're already doing this thing, or that it's not as important as it really is. So I want to talk today. First, I'm going to go over some of the stuff that I talked about yesterday with diets, because you have to understand the basis of dieting. And that's, yesterday we talked about how your metabolic rate is slowly declining. We all know that like our metabolism drops with age, and we talk a lot at Eat More to Weigh Less about how your metabolism declines just from dieting. So yesterday we discussed how your metabolic rate can drop on average by 300 by dieting. And what that means is that the amount of calories that you're burning literally becomes less when you're dieting. So the average is 300 calories, and it can go all the way up to 800 calories is what we were discussing yesterday, meaning you can be burning less in just as little as 8 weeks. You could be burning up to 800 calories less because of your dieting and what dieting does to our metabolism. So understanding first and foremost that yes, aging does mess with our metabolism. The older we get, our metabolism declines. But also understanding that dieting screws up your metabolism. As you start dieting, your body adapts and it just burns less and less and less, as much as 800 calories less in as little as 8 weeks. So these super low calorie diets that a lot of people are going on are screwing up their metabolism. Like I said, as little as 200, but the point is that it's happening, and it happens a lot faster than people think, and that lowered metabolism rate can last for up to a year. So these even short bouts of dieting, the effects that it's having on your body can last for up to a year. So that is something that you have to understand from the gate. The eat less, exercise more philosophy behind weight loss has a 95% failure rate. 95%. Only 5 people are successful at keeping the weight off long term. So again, it's not just about losing the weight, but it's about keeping it off. So one of the things that we have to understand, that when you're talking about diets and when we're talking about aging, all these things that we have often attributed to the aging process of, oh, I'm just getting older, my metabolism is slowing. We don't realize that a lot of it is attributed to being sedentary, meaning because you stop moving as you get older. You think about it, when you're a kid, you're all over the place, and the older you get, the more you sit, especially like since the Industrial Revolution, we just stop moving. So being sedentary is bringing on more of what you feel are aging effects than anything else. So a lot of the stuff that people are going through, so when you're dealing with metabolism, we have to understand up front that a big part of that is because you're not moving anymore. That's why your metabolism is going down. So understanding that your muscles affected, there's other things too, as far as like your hormonal balance affects your metabolism, and then there's things like environmental pollutants and stuff like that. But understand that your muscles relate to your metabolism more than anything else. So when you're dieting, how we discussed, like dieting, it's temporary. The loss that you're getting does not last for long. There's a 95% failure rate. Only 5% of the people are keeping it off. When you are losing weight through dieting, typically, especially if you're not resistance training, 20 to 50% of that loss is muscle mass. So if you're losing muscle mass, that's affecting your metabolism the most, because of the fact that just what 30, probably, we call it BMR, which if you are already familiar with Eat More to Weigh Less, your basal metabolic rate is just the amount of calories that you need just to lay in bed and breathe. Yes, it's a lot. It's huge. 20 to 50% of all that you're losing is muscle. And your muscle is 3/4 of your basal metabolic rate. 3/4 of the calories that you need to operate without even moving. As you add in more muscle, it increases that rate. So understand how much of it actually affects you. It seems like muscle is not a big deal, and a lot of people want to ignore it, and they think that it's just about how you look. It's just about looking like you have muscles. Even if you don't like the way muscles look, it doesn't matter because it has to do with your metabolism. Even if you don't want to look ripped, even if you don't even want to look toned, or you don't want to look like a bodybuilder, whatever the case, for shunning muscle, understand first and foremost that it still determines like 3/4 of the calories that you need to just lay in bed and breathe are determined by the amount of muscle that you have on your body. So switching to a muscle-based mindset over just a fat loss-based mindset is going to help your metabolism more than anything else. And that's also going to help as far as the aging process goes. So knowing that the reason why you were able to burn more calories when you were younger is because you had a higher percent of muscle mass. The less that you're moving and you're not doing anything during your diets to preserve the muscle mass that you do have, that means that the amount of calories that you need to operate continue to go down because the amount of muscle mass that you have determines how high your metabolism is. But if that's confusing to you, the basis of it is that your muscle determines your metabolism. The less muscle you have, the slower your metabolism is going to be. So regardless of if you want a muscular look, the point is that even the look that you want requires muscle. So even if the look that you want doesn't require you seeing the muscle, it still requires muscle. So I wanted to make sure that that's clear because sometimes we kind of glaze over it. Or like I said, these articles will discuss it. Like this article specifically, it had pictures of, like I said, the woman with the 5-pound dumbbell saying you're going to burn 50% more calories when you lift weights. But then it has that weight. That weight is not going to build muscle. And building the muscle is what's actually going to increase the metabolism. But if you are associating the resistance training with the metabolism, then you may be missing the mark because the point of the resistance training is to A, keep the muscle mass that you already have, and B, build more. So if you're not exercising and dieting in a way that's preserving your muscle mass, your metabolism is going down. So if you're dieting in a way that you're losing that 20 to 50% of the loss is muscle, then that means that if you're part of the 95% that regains, and when you regain, typically you're regaining back fat. So now you have a higher fat percentage, a lower muscle percentage, and a lowered metabolism. So that's the reason why you may hear about like set point theories and stuff like that. Basically, it's saying that like a person who dieted down to say like 150 pounds requires less calories than a person who was already 150 pounds and didn't diet to get there. That's what that means. It's because of what you're losing in the process. So you have to diet and exercise and live in a way that just has a more a muscle-based mentality. Because most diets are. If you're just dieting with no exercise, you're going to lose the highest percent of muscle. If you're dieting with a little bit of exercise, you're going to lose slightly less muscle. Like if you're just doing diet and cardio, you'll lose slightly less muscle than if you weren't doing any any movement at all. But if you diet and resistance train, you're losing like little to no muscle. You're pretty much not losing any muscle. And if you're really new, you're actually gaining muscle, which means your metabolism is going up. Gaining muscle is what is going to make your metabolism go up. So if you're looking to fix your metabolism and you've either gotten older or you've gone through a lot of diets where you've lost a lot of muscle mass, then you need to be focused on rebuilding the muscle mass, not just losing the fat, because you're losing the fat. But if your metabolism was already slow, it's going to stay slowish because you're not adding more muscle mass to it. So the only way to actually increase that, other than maybe getting, fixing if there's any hormonal issues and getting it to a point where you don't have things hindering your metabolism, the only way to rebuild and come out of that metabolic deficit, meaning where your metabolism is lower than it should be, is to build muscle. So you want to switch to a more muscle-based lifestyle, focusing on eating and exercising in a way that keeps or adds to the muscle mass that you already have. You want to make sure that you're not avoiding muscle building because of how it looks, because you don't like muscle. You're like, yeah, well, I don't really want to look like that. Like, you don't want to avoid it, because it doesn't matter, young or old, male or female, if you are not taking into account the muscle factor, then you are not going to heal your metabolism to the extent that you want, because the more you ignore it, the more muscle you're losing.